The art of the deal with North Korea is proving elusive.
It's a process and it's moving along, but we just felt it wasn't appropriate to sign an agreement today.
In Hanoi this morning, President Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un abruptly cut short their second summit after failing to reach a nuclear agreement.
We have to have sanctions, and he wants to denuke, but he wants to just do areas that are less important than the areas that we want.
The respective sides say they will meet again in the future. The president's diplomatic effort took place against the backdrop of a dramatic day in Washington.
I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
The keeper of Donald Trump's secrets, his personal lawyer for a decade, Michael Cohen, now dumping on his old boss.
While this was going on, the drama back in Washington, your former lawyer, what's your response to Michael Cohen?
Most important question up there was the one on collusion, and he said he saw no collusion. So we'll see what happens, but it was pretty shameful, I think.
Michael Cohen called Trump a racist.
And he told me that black people would never vote for him because they were too stupid.
Called him a con man.
The campaign for him was always a marketing opportunity.
And called Trump a bully.
How many times did Mr. Trump ask you to threaten an individual or entity on his behalf?
Quite a few times.
50 times?
More.
100 times?
More.
200 times?
More.
500 times?
Probably.
Bombshell after bombshell from a man who certainly can claim to have been in the room where it happened, but who's also a known liar. In fact, Cohen's about to go to jail for, among other crimes, lying to Congress.
You said all these bad things about the president there in that last 30 minutes, but you worked for him for 10 years. Mr. Cohen, how long did you work in the White House?
I never worked in the White House.
That's the point, isn't it, Mr. Cohen?
No, sir.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not, sir.
You wanted to work in the White House.
No, sir.
You didn't get brought to the dance.
I actually think it was a sad day for America. When at any time that you have the president dragged through the mud that way, it hurts our democracy.
How worried should the president be?
Michael Cohen was so specific in what he offered to Congress today. There's a lot there that, if the dots are connected, could create a very strong case, certainly for a criminal investigation, if not impeachment.
Today's hearing was almost a split-screen moment. The president off being a statesman, while his former lawyer brought up a wide variety of issues. The hearing offered some tantalizing tidbits on the Russia investigation.
Questions have been raised about whether I know of direct evidence that Mr. Trump or his campaign colluded with Russia. I do not. And I want to be clear, but I have my suspicions.
Cohen claimed to have been in the room when Don Trump Jr. informed his father about setting up that infamous Trump Tower meeting with a Russian lawyer promising dirt on Hillary Clinton.
I recall Don Jr. leaning over to his father and speaking in a low voice, which I could clearly hear, and saying, "The meeting is all set." And I remember Mr. Trump saying, "Okay, good, let me know."
Cohen also claimed he knew firsthand that before the 2016 conventions, Trump was aware of stolen emails in the possession of WikiLeaks.
I was in Mr. Trump's office. Mr. Trump put Mr. Stone on the speakerphone. Mr. Stone told Mr. Trump that he had just gotten off the phone with Julian Assange, and that Mr. Assange told Mr. Stone that within a couple of days, there would be a massive dump of emails that would damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. Mr. Trump responded by stating to the effect, "Wouldn't that be great?"
Assange's attorney disputed that account, telling ABC News Roger Stone did not have the telephone call Michael Cohen described. Cohen claimed candidate Trump continued to lie about his business dealings in Russia up to the moment he won the presidency.
Mr. Trump knew of and directed the Trump-Moscow negotiations throughout the campaign and lied about it. He lied about it because he never expected to win. He also lied about it because he stood to make hundreds of millions of dollars on the Moscow real estate project.
Cohen claimed that White House lawyers reviewed his testimony to Congress, allegedly insisting on the lie to which he pled guilty.
Mr. Trump's personal lawyers reviewed and edited my statement to Congress about the timing of the Moscow Tower negotiations before I gave it.
President Trump's legal team denied that claim as completely false. Finally, Cohen claimed there are other matters that federal prosecutors are investigating with his help, but he declined to be specific.
Is there any other wrongdoing or illegal act that you are aware of regarding Donald Trump that we haven't yet discussed today?
Yes, and again, those are part of the investigation that's currently being looked at by the Southern District of New York.
There were a lot of juicy tidbits about the Russia investigation, but there was no real smoking gun, was there?
There isn't a smoking gun, and while there is lots to maybe connect the dots, there's nothing that actually establishes, in many cases, the actual state of mind that's needed to establish a crime.
Some of what Cohen said today directly contradicts what he said before. There's the evolving story on the hush money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels, one of two campaign finance violations that's part of Cohen's guilty plea. Initially, Cohen offered a different explanation, consistent with the president's story.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels? Then why did Michael Cohen make it if there was no truth or allegation?
You have to ask Michael Cohen.
Now, Cohen insists that it was all part of a criminal scheme to violate campaign finance laws, concocted with the president's blessing. Cohen even, for the first time, produced one of the reimbursement checks with the president's unmistakable signature.
This $35,000 check was one of 11 check installments that was paid throughout the year while he was president.
Someone needs to defend the president of the United States here. He's being accused of crimes by a guy who seemingly has inside knowledge of it. The president, I can guarantee, I know him well. He's sitting in Vietnam right now, fuming that no one's defending.
In Hanoi, the president was indeed fuming.
But the fact is there is no collusion, and I call it the witch hunt. This should never happen to another president. This is so bad for our country, so bad.
It's true that Michael Cohen does have a credibility issue, but the bottom line here is that at this point he really had nothing to lose. He could get a reduction in sentence for cooperation, but he can't lie or make things up. It could actually hurt him.
But after this one day of hearings, there is blood in the water.
And I can only warn people, the more people that follow Mr. Trump, as I did blindly, are going to suffer the same consequences that I'm suffering.
Michael Cohen will soon be headed to prison, but he seems determined he's not alone in taking the fall. I'm David Wright for Nightline in New York.